Alright guys, so what we're working on now is cutting the 5-angle valve job. We have the neway valve seat cutting tools out, and we have the neway spray, the pilot, the valves. We have a micrometer, the small hole gauge. That's to set the to ream and hone the guides. That's done. The bronze guides are in, and what's going on now is we are doing the 5-angle valve job. So if you look at the difference between these seats, if you see this seat here, this seat hasn't been cut. So what this seat has for angles is the 15 and the 75. The 15 is where it ties into the bowl, and the 15-degree carries into the bowl, and the combustion chamber, and the 75 carries from the seat into the bowl. So there's a look at the 75-degree cutter, the angle. You can see how that does the bottom. And then here's a look at the 15, and it almost looks flat, and you can see how that ties into the chamber there. So what I have cut is the intake seat, and I don't know if you can tell the difference, but you can see all the different angles cut on the seat, and I'll show them to you. Alright, so this seat here already has the 5-angle valve job on it. I know sometimes it's kind of hard to see, so I'm going to make it easy. What I did was paint some lines on it with a Dykem metal marker, and I am going to start at the top with the 15 cutter, and then I'm going to cut every other angle. So I'll cut the 15 and you'll see it remove the top, then I'll skip the 30, then I'll cut the 45, I'll skip the 60, then I'll cut the 70, so you'll be able to see every angle. So I'll do that and I will get back to you. So as you can see there, that's the top cut, the 15. You can see the stripes through all the paint. And now I'm going to skip the 30 and do the 45. Alright. Alright. And this is how you know the seat's concentric. You see these little thin lines. So the top clear mark is the 15. The blue mark that's still there, that's the 30. That next clear mark, that's the 45. And the next cut I'm going to do, I'm going to skip the 60 and do the 75. So here's a look at the 5-angle valve job, as clear as I can show it. And we'll pick one of these so that way I can try to show you what's going on here. Alright, so here's the bowl, and this top shiny mark, that's the 15. So where the paint is left, that's where I skipped the 30, so that this angle here, if you can see it now, sorry. So this is the 15, this is the 30 with the blue mark still on it, and then the next clean mark, that's the 45, and then I skipped the 60, which is this next blue mark that's still there, and then I did the 75, which is the next clear mark. So 1, so we count this, clear, then blue is 2, then clear is 3, then blue is 4, then clear is 5. So that is the 5-angle valve job. And by far, if you look at this, and even if I cut a 45, you know, right now I feel like I could cut my finger on this. This just rolls right, it's just so silky smooth. I mean, this is just unbelievably smooth. And a 5-angle valve job with this custom chamber and that port job, I mean, this thing is an absolute winner. So just wanted to get that on video. Alright guys, so here you've seen that I've cut the 5-angle on the intake seat. So we will look again at the exhaust. Now you see the top part, that's clean, that's the 15. The blue mark is the 30. The next clean mark is the 45. The next blue mark is the 60. And the next clean mark is the 75. And then the transition down into the bowl is the 85. So you can see here that when I was cleaning the 15, that it cuts straight into the chamber. And this is the angle that all of the bottom of the chamber is at. It's at a 15 degree. So that 15 degree cut carries over into the chamber, along with the same thing on the intake side. So as you can see right up here with that little clean spot around, the cutter I use the same cutter for both sides, so it transitions a lot bigger cut onto the exhaust seat. But I definitely use a different sizing of my seats. As you can see, the 15, 30, 45, 60, 75, 85. But if you notice the width of the 45, which is the shiny one here, the dimension of this is a lot smaller on the intake than the dimension is on the exhaust. On the exhaust, you want to have a little bit bigger of the 45 degree angle on the seat, because that on the exhaust valve is, besides the guide, this is the only thing that helps pull the heat out of the valve. So I definitely use very distinct angles, and that's part of how I get my heads to flow so much. Like I said, on this head, this is a 36-34 setup, and you can just see by how, when I cut the angles, how much more it opens up the ports. Now, when I was doing the intake port, you noticed, I don't know if you saw the last video, but before I went and sanded the epoxy, I took the 75 cutter and went around down in there to make sure the bowl transitioned into the seat correctly. Now, since I wasn't doing epoxy in the exhaust port, the seats usually overhang a little bit, but in this casting, the seat was offset. And when I was cutting in the 75, you can see how it cut into the port, only in areas. You can see how it starts coming in here and then it gets greater over here. Now, I'm gonna have to go back in here now because I can feel that as a ridge. So I'm gonna have to come back in there with a cartridge roll and smooth that back out now. And that's why it's very important to do the 5-angle valve job. Just making sure all the seats are absolutely concentric with each other, keeps the flow 100% directional. And if you design a port for air to go certain ways, like if this is a biased port, and they do that for a reason, because they want the air traveling in a certain path, in this entire chamber shape, everything I've done is because I know exactly where I'm placing the air in this chamber. the importance of having all of the valve seats cut with a neway valve seat cutting tool is important, because that keeps your seats 100% concentric with zero runout based on the guide. So it keeps everything centered. Your circle is not, you know, it's not off-centered. If you go in there and just kind of open things up with a burr, you know, it usually gets more opened up on this side, because this is the side you're working more. So the whole bowl gets kind of odd shaped. When you go in with these, and you can kind of tell by judging the thickness of each, say, look at that top blue line, how thin that is. But it's the same everywhere. You can see that same thin line is the same thickness everywhere. Same with the 45, and that's the beauty of doing it this way and doing the dicum on the marks. You can see each cut and the thickness of it. And if, say, if the cut was thicker on this side and thinner on that side, that would mean the bowl or the guide. That's why I always put the guides in before I cut the seats. That's how I can get them so concentric. So this is just a look at the 5-angle valve job. I think I've already done the type of tooling used. What you're going to need to do guides is the guide installer, removal installation tool, and then a ream and a hone. After the reamed and honed, what you're going to need to do the seats is a pilot. The pilot is what locates the center. And then after that, you're going to need a series of valve cutters. All of these are marked with what angles they are. As you see, the top cutter is 15, the bottom's 46. And then this cutter has the 30 and a 15. And then this one has the 65 and the 70. So we have 15, 30, 45, 65, 70. And what the pilot does is hold them centered on the seats. So when you bring in like this T-handle and you lock it onto this tool, no matter how I'm applying pressure to that handle, that keeps the seat centered when I turn it. That keeps the tooling centered on the seat when you turn it. If you notice, like these 45s, these ones that I have 5 carbides on them. Each one of those carbides is like $30. So that's a lot of cutting tool there. Something like I was just doing the exhaust, so depending upon where you position these, there's little locking retainers that you can loosen and slide the carbides around. So I have this one slid down so that it's actually smaller for the exhaust. If I was to slide those all the way up, I'd be able to cut, like, say, up to, I think I can cut up to like a 38 millimeter port with this, and then I'll have to switch to my bigger tooling from, say, 38 to 42. But that's just a look at how I cut my seats with the 5-angle valve job. And we'll pull this guide out. Just got in these new valve seat or cylinder head stands, which are great for holding the heads, especially because the pilots and stuff, they'll stick through down past the guides. They're the guides I just put in. Those are the bronze guides. So the head's pretty much done as far as I'm concerned. Seat angles are cut. I just need to go back in here, clean this up, and then I'll probably run it on my basically what I have for a mill to mill this head off. I'm going to get it as close as I can to the dimension needed, and then I'll send it off to the machine shop for them to professionally mill this surface on a proper mill, and then it'll be returned to the customer, to my boss. Again, this is Paul from Paul's Carts. My telephone number is 781-492-7358. And if you guys need any projects or need any questions, please feel free to give me a call anytime. I am on the East Coast, so I like to get calls between the hours of like 9 a.m. and 9 p.m. I do get calls until 1 in the morning though. So just another look. This is the 5-angle valve job, and thank you for watching. Until next time, have a good day.